Hey guys, it's Holly with Wild Blessings. This is Teaching Tuesday, August 31st. Don't you just love the colors and textures on my counter? I love this time of year. I just came back from foraging and I got a lot of autumn oliveberry, which we'll be talking about in a minute. But first I wanted to tell you what the theme of, or the topic for today's class is how and why essential oils work, which I love essential oils. But we're going to have a guest speaker. Her name is Dr. Brandi Johnson. She's one of my best friends, and she is an incredible chiropractor and holistic approach to health. And she teaches classes on anatomy and physiology, and she just has such wisdom, and she loves using essential oils in her practice and in her daily life. So she'll be wonderful to learn from. Be sure you ask questions. She'll be here in the comments, so you can ask questions in the comments if you'd like from her, and she'll be happy to answer, and or make your own comments. We would love to participate with you. I just wanted to welcome all my new members. Thank you so much for joining me. We are on YouTube now, and so you don't have to be a part of this community, but I do love it when you are. I love participating. I love your poems. I love making crossword puzzles and learning together and learning from each other. And I love your pictures. Don't forget that this week, whoever shares what they've foraged for in their foraging basket and they put a picture of it on our Wild Blessings with Holly Drake page, you are going to be entered into a raffle where you could win a beautiful gem roller of Northern Lights Black Spruce, which is one of my absolute favorite. This is actually not, this is oregano. But in here is Northern Lights Black Spruce. And it absolutely is an amazing blend of pines. And this is my gift to you because of my time up in Minnesota. If you haven't watched that, please do. And you'll get to see my, my haunting grounds when I was a little girl, when I would go up to the camp in northern Minnesota and walk down to Trails End to see my grandparents, and through these towering hardwoods and pines. And so my grandmother used to call it These Thy Woods. And so that's, one of you will get that, but you need to post pictures. So please participate with me. I would love to see what you're harvesting and what you're getting in Nature's Wave in late August, early September. Okay, so lots to do today. We're going to do some cooking demonstrations. I made a clafouti out of autumn olive berries. I made a syrup, and so for our tea, we're going to make a wild pizza together. For our tea, I have a autumn olive berry syrup and some seltzer water, and so Jason can try that, and then I'll also let him try the clafouti that I made for Kendall. See what he thinks of that.
Yeah, I guess this is the time of day I'm a little bit thirsty, so I'm looking forward to this. Yeah. And by the way, the clafouti we've had before. I have to admit, it's one of the best desserts that she's made. She learned how to make it, and with just about any berries. This time you made it with what?
I made it with blueberries. These are from our late blooming blueberry tree. How did you find late blooming blueberry? I don't know how we ended up with it, but I love it because they don't come out when all the other blueberries do. They come out now. Yes. So.
And we're now, of course, in August, and that bush is quite plentiful. Every day I go out and pull off a lot of blueberries. So.
Isn't that good?
It is. Oh, it's terrific.
So this is kind of like a cross between a cranberry and a raspberry. And they're so beautiful to look at up close with your jeweler's loupe. They've got these little silver sparkles on them, and they're just so amazing. So I love autumn oliveberry. But I so enjoyed meeting this person whose property the autumn oliveberries are on. The friend that I had made before, who let me forage on her land, passed away, and so I went up to the top of this mountain where all of the autumn olive berries that I like to forage for are, and I just introduced myself, and I told her I'd bring her some autumn olive berry jam if she would let me forage on her land. So Debbie, if you're here, welcome. I'm so thankful that you let me give us some berries. I'm thrilled. But I also found the pokeberry, and I found the snake root, And not that I want to eat snake root, but I wanted to talk about it. So there's just all kinds of abundance out there this time of year. And there's a scripture that says, you have made me glad by what you have done, by what you have made. And so you can be in a really funky mood, but you just get out there in nature and you have an empty basket and say, Lord, fill my basket. And he always does. And you come back with joy. So be sure you post a picture of your foraging basket for a chance to win. You don't have to make it look amazing, put it all garbled and on display. Just show your basket with what's in it and tell us what you've got and what you're going to do with it. So let's see. I wanted to welcome new members. So welcome each of you. Such an honor to have you. We're on YouTube now. So if you want to share that easier with friends, I just want to get the word out so people can join us and learn together. Okay. Oh, another fun thing I did I wanted to show is I wanted to show you how to make edible flower ice cubes. So what you do is you fill up clean ice cube trays halfway with water, and then you put the edible flower on top of it, and then you fill it up the rest of the way with water and refreeze it. So I'm not going to do that now, so you don't need to watch me do it, but I will do that. And then I can have these throughout the winter, and I'll have my freezer full of beautiful edible flower ice cubes. If you don't know what edible flowers are, then for heaven's sakes, don't just put any flower in, because some of them are very poisonous. You can go, I'll give you the link below as to my class on, I did 2 classes on edible flowers. So that's really fun. Okay, let me put these back in. All right, so let me tell you about my wild pizza. This past week, last week you saw this huge black staining polypore mushroom. It's called a Mirapilis sumsteni. And so I spent many hours making that into powder, making it into stock, taking that and turning that into a bouillon. And then what else did I do? I made a stir fry. We had mushu pork. Jace, did you like the mushu pork?
It was extremely good. Yeah.
And Jason recommended last week that I try it on pizza, so I thought, I will. So that's what we're going to do. So let's talk about how many things that are in here that are wild. So I have the black staining polypore. I have, Jace, can you keep track of how many I'm saying? So that's 1. This is a pile of mustard. I could not even believe it, and it was really fresh. So I've got lots of cut up mustard in here. I think it's probably I'm trying to think of what kind of brassica it was. I'm not sure, but all mustards are edible. And it was a young one. It hadn't even gone to flower yet. I got a lot of dandelion in here, so that's how many? 3. I have a lot of, well, not a lot. This is Lambsquarter seeds, and those are very, very high in protein, so that's 4. Here's some more Lambsquarter seeds. And then I have regular onion, but I also have on top of that onion seeds from wild onion, so that's exciting. And then, not so wild, how many did we have? 5. Okay, well, I also have some flower buds from, there's about 20 of those, flower buds from Evening Primrose, which if you're not eating those, you need to eat them. Oh, and then I have all of this amazing, look, you can see, these are little stems of burdock, and I have them marinated. Here's my marinade right here. Marinated in oregano and thyme and chilies and basil and red wine, olive oil. And so that keeps them for a long time. And then you can just put that delicious Italian flavor of these crunchy stems onto your pizza. So I'm going to go ahead and make it now because Jason and I are hungry. And then after class, we're going to eat it. And also, I'm going to let him try some of the Clafouti that I made. All right, so I've got the dough already rolled out, which I'm not very good at that. I tried tossing it in the air, but that didn't work very well. Honestly, when I found this poke, I think if I had time, I would probably make these into poke balls, chop it up and put that on top of my pizza, but I don't have time for that. Okay, so I'm just gonna smooth that out. and just cover it up with all this good stuff. I think I'll probably put the cheese on first, and then Jace will take a picture of it all made up. Okay, so I'm just taking time to put the cheese over the pizza sauce, and then I've got some bacon, which is not wild, but anything with bacon is good. Wow, that ragweed is brutal, you guys. If you're not using essential oils to help you with your allergies, then contact me. I can help you for sure. Okay. Excuse me. All right. Then I'm going to take these black. No, I think I'll take the. Now, I could take these greens and I could have them sauteed really quickly in a little bit of olive oil, but I don't think I will. I just kind of like them fresh. It'll add a nice bitterness too. Bitter is good. We've gotten it out of our diets, but we sure need it. Bitter is very important for our liver. Okay, so I've got all this good stuff. And I'm going to take the piece de resistance, which is the fabulous black staining polypore. It's so amazing to me. These mushrooms are kind of like a beige, almost a yellow. And when you bruise them or cook them, they turn really black, as you can see. And then I'm putting all of this amazing seeds from the Lambsquarter. And I love to put Parmesan on my pizzas as well. So I found a red clover that's going on as well. You can put edible flowers on. Of course, they don't look pretty after you've cooked them, but they add a little bit of color. And I like a little more cheese than that, so I think I'll add some more cheese. Over top of the whole thing, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Okay. All right, so I provided a handout for you. It's on Wild Blessings with Holly Drake Facebook group, and so you can print that out before Dr. Brandi starts to share so that you can take notes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments and she'll get back to you live right now, or in the future, she'll just check back. So she's a wonderful resource and you're gonna really enjoy this. So with that, Dr. Brandi, thank you so much for joining us. I feel it's such a privilege and I look forward to learning from you.
So Holly already introduced me, but I'll say hello again. I'm Dr. Brandi Johnson, and we do have a lot to cover today. I will tell you that I've taken chemistry, I've taken organic chemistry just for my degrees, but I'm not a chemist. So if you're wanting a super detailed, how essential oils work, probably not the girl. But if you want an overview how they work in kind of a simple way, then I am your girl. I can't do that. Now we are going to be going through a lot, so I'm going to try to not speak too fast, but I do want to move through the material so that we don't end up missing anything. On top of that, if you can save your questions till the end, that would be good, just because a lot of this needs to be going in a certain format, and if we kind of get off track, then things kind of get combobulated and it doesn't make sense. So unless there's something that you need me to repeat because you'll miss the rest of it, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, let's try to save it till the end. Normally I don't mind, but just for today, that's going to be my little request. So you have your notes. They're going to be a little bare because I do want people to be able to write what makes sense to them instead of just having my own format. So you'll see that what we're talking about is why essential oils are effective, how they're effective, and then what they actually do for us. Okay, so it's going to be kind of our three subject matters. So first is why are essential oils effective, okay? This can be summed up in one thing, and I think I have this on your notes, and that is nature is designed by an intelligent creator, as are we. So because nature is intelligent, we're intelligent, we naturally work well together. Now, what do essential oils do in the plant? Okay, well, essential oils in the plant, Holly can even talk to you more about where the essential oils come from in the plant. They come from like the aromatic part. And they are for plant metabolism, they deal with plant growth, and they're also act as a plant's immune system. Okay, so the essential oils in the plant, they help to ward off viruses and parasites and bacteria. So that is why we are able to get those benefits from the essential oils when we diffuse them or put them on our skin or what have you. So that's what we're getting. We're getting the immune system from the plant. Now, plants are actually studied this way to develop different drugs and different antibacterials and different antivirals. So nature is inspiring drugs since the very beginning. And we know that our body can become resilient to different drugs and bacteria can be resistant to different drugs. But that doesn't happen with the essential oils because it's just the nature of the plant. They vary ever so slightly every season and every year. So they don't have a chance to, mutate to be resilient to it. So they are very, very powerful in that way. Now, like I said, we have the antibacterial properties, antiviral properties, and they do very similar things inside of us. That's why they help protect our immune system. Okay, now because essential oils come from plants, come from nature, which is very intelligent, the essential oils know whenever they're going after something in our body to leave the good stuff alone, right? Whenever we're talking about regular pharmaceuticals that doesn't have this intelligence behind it, it just wipes out everything, right? Antibiotics are an atomic bomb for your body. Essential oils will not have that effect. Now, this is due to the fact that natural compounds are better at interacting with other natural compounds. We're a natural compound, essential oils are natural compounds. It's a beautiful marriage, right? Now, obviously, pharmaceuticals are not, so we have side effects and things of that nature. Now, this is what I think gets to be really exciting is when we start looking into the nitty-gritty of the essential oils. Now, one drop of essential oil or any type of essential oil can be made up of 300 different constituents, okay? That's 300 different parts, different little chemical things in it, and can have up to 400,000 molecules in just one drop, okay? 400,000 molecules, and each one of those little molecules are a different size and a different shape, okay? So we're talking tons and just tons of different ways that it can interact with the cells of your body. And they interact with all the different pathways in your body, okay? Now, each one of those has a purpose. We talk about 400,000 molecules or 300 different constituents. Each one of those has a certain purpose and will interact with the cell a different way. And whenever you combine all those together, you have synergy, right? We understand synergy is when the effect is greater than the sum of the parts, okay? So 2 + 2 = 5. Now, this is why just one drop of essential oil can do so many different amazing things. There's not a single drug on the market that has that type of profile. There's just not. We'll talk a little bit more about what pharmaceuticals are and how they work. Now, this is why where you get your essential oils really matter. Okay, we're talking 300 different constituents, 400,000 different molecules, all a different shape, a different size, and they do something different. Now, if you're getting cheap essential oils where they're not accounting for that, you're not getting all the benefits of that oil. So it's very important that we know from the seed to the seal, right? From when that seed is grown until the bottle is sealed, what's going on with that oil. Okay, I think you all know kind of where I'm getting at with that, okay, why it's so important. Now, there are two things about essential oils that make them super, super powerful for the human cell, okay? One of those things is that they are super teeny tiny, okay? Now, they are smaller than the proteins that fit inside of our cells, okay? Now, we know our DNA is made up of amino acids, which make up proteins, okay? Essential oils are smaller than that, okay? So they are teeny tiny. So because of that, they are able to quickly circulate throughout your entire system. Now, essential oil molecule is roughly, a cell is roughly 50,000 or 50,000 times larger than essential oil molecule, okay? So just to give you an idea of size, an essential oil molecule is 1/50,000th of the size of a cell. Now, whenever we diffuse the essential oils into the air like we're doing now with thieves to protect our immune systems, they are going in through our nose and going directly into our limbic system. Now, your limbic system is where your body houses memory, it affects your mood. Whenever your limbic system is something that your body will store, is this good or bad? Is it safe? Is it not safe? So that's why you can actually use essential oils to kind of rewire your brain, so to speak, right? So that's why, you know, you can smell pumpkin pie and think of your grandmother or what have you. And you can smell certain smells, maybe remind you of an ex-boyfriend or whatever. That's because it's going directly into your limbic system. It goes directly through because these molecules are so teeny tiny. Now, so they're tiny, which helps them get into the cells. Now they're also lipophilic, which means they like lipid, they like the fat. And all of our cells have a lipid membrane around them. So these molecules being so small and lipophilic, they can go right through that cellular membrane, get into the cell, as well as all the little organelles inside of the cell, okay? So it can get into every single part of your cell, and it can get into every cell of your body, okay? Now we can't actually necessarily have proven that yet, but whenever we compare these molecules to every similar molecule, that's exactly what they do. So we know essential oils can do this. Now they can go into the cell because of lipid membrane. They can get into the organelles, they can get into the nucleus and affect the DNA. Okay, so essential oils can affect you at the DNA level and can affect gene expression. Okay, so they can affect everything that has to do with the cell. Now these two properties, the fact that they're really small and that they're lipophilic, also allows them to cross the blood-brain barrier, because the blood-brain barrier is a series of tight junctions that keeps things that are either too big or a certain property so they can't get across. But essential oils are able to cross that. So we know for a fact essential oils will affect your brain. So just in summation, it's the size and diversity of the essential oil molecules and the affinity that they have for lipids is why essential oils are so effective at getting into the cells, including crossing that blood-brain barrier. So that's kind of the why. Now kind of a subset of that is how are they so effective? Now they have an affinity for interacting with proteins, which is what makes up our DNA, and we know that that's going to have a big part in just how our overall health is managed. Now, certain chemical compounds that make up essential oils are known to do certain things. Now when you combine those certain compounds and combine it with all the other little trace constituents of the essential oils, you have a truly powerful plant medicine. And some of these compounds are named by how many carbons and hydrogens they have. We're not going to get into that specific of it. If you want to know that, I can send you some resources, but we're just going to keep it simple. So one of the first ones is phenols. Now these are known to clean the cell receptor sites, and this improves, so whenever you have those receptors clean, your cells can communicate better, so your body knows what's going on. And some oils that are really high in these are anise, clove, basil, and oregano. There's a few, but we're just going to name the top few for right now. Another chemical compound that's really common in essential oils, this one's actually in most essential oils, is monoterpenes. Now they can reprogram misinformation that's found within your DNA. Okay, so they can kind of unscramble some of the mess that can go on whenever we get exposed to toxins and things like that. It screws up our DNA. Essential oils can actually help fix that. They can help alleviate that. Now these are highest in grapefruit, angelica, frankincense, and cypress. And there's some other ones as well. Another chemical compound is sesaquarpines. I may be butchering these names. Like I said, not a chemist. Now these deliver oxygen to the cells, okay? And they also help to re-scramble some of that misinformation within the DNA as well. Now when you look at cancer, that's essentially what cancer is at a cellular level. It is messed up DNA and low oxygen. So whenever you add oxygen, you re-scramble that DNA, cancer cells can't thrive, okay? So that is why there are certain oils that are really powerful against tumor cells and cancer cells.
Which, by the way, Sacred Frankincense is free this month, and that's the one that's specific for cancer.
Yes, awesome. You guys hear that? Okay, good. Yes, Sacred Frankincense. Some other ones, aside from that, are cedarwood, vetiver, sandalwood, patchouli, ginger, and myrrh. So those are some other ones that are going to be really high in that anti-cancer chemical compound. Now this is another type of compound that it's a beta caryophyllene, and this is found in many of the essential oils. Now they act on your CB2 receptors, okay, your cannabinoid receptors. Now we know we have CB1, we have CB2. CB1 are the ones that will give you kind of that that high, so to speak, you know, whenever THC is in the mix. Now CB2 does not have that, so there's nothing that you can do that's going to give you that sensation. Now what these receptors are responsible for is they govern pain, appetite, mood. They do a lot with memory, and also many immune responses. Okay, so that's what these will interact with. Now they are highest in copaiba. I can never say that one right. So that's where you're going to get the most of that benefit that's going to act on those CB2 receptors. It's also high in ylang-ylang, black pepper, clove, rosemary, basil, oregano, and lavender. And I can give you this list if you need to. So even just by using some of these essential oils, you're getting access to so many different receptors all across your body. So that's why you can have so many different side benefits as opposed to side effects. You get side benefits because they're affecting so many things. And we'll go into a little bit of that too. Now, because of how the molecules inside these essential oils are affecting the cells, the changes that it enacts are permanent. That is why it actually changes things. It's not covering something up. It's not lessening an expression. It is changing what's going on at the cell. So that is why people, even after they stop using essential oils, they'll still get some of those effects because their cells have changed. The DNA within those cells have changed. So those changes are permanent, which is very, very exciting. Now, this is the point where I just want to stop for a minute, and we kind of talked about how essential oils are working at the cell and their pathways. Now let's compare that to just Western medicine, because that's what most of us are familiar with, so when we have that comparison, it can kind of make things make more sense. Now, we know that drugs are inspired by nature, okay? Now, this has been going on forever. Now, what happens is we'll say, they look at a plant, and they say, okay, well, we know that when people eat this plant or consume this plant, it lessens their pain, or it decreases their cancer. So let's find out what's in this plant that makes it that way. So they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, well, 70% of this plant is made up of this certain chemical compound, this constituent. So they'll say, okay, well, that must be what makes it anti-cancer. So they'll go to the lab and they'll try to make up, there's actually basically a logbook of all the different molecules that lab scientists have made. And they'll say, okay, well, we need to try to make something that fits kind of like this molecule does, that looks like this molecule does, that will block this specific pathway, that will block this specific action of the cell. And so they go and do that. But when you do that, you're not taking into account the entire network, everything that's going on. It's always a chain of events, right? And so when you're just blocking that one little action without taking into account of everything else, you're leaving a lot of loose ends. Plus, because we know that essential oils work with synergy, we have 300 different constituents. It's not just one of those things that's doing the job. It's all of it together. So if you're taking out just one of those constituents, leaving the rest, that drug is not going to be able to work, okay? So they'll try to whip up something artificial, synthetic, that will fit into this little key. Now, they'll spend millions of dollars doing this, they'll market it to doctors and patients, and then they come to find out, they patent it, they do whatever they can do, and then they'll decide, okay, well, it has too many side effects, they pull it off the market and they do it again. That's basically the drug market in a nutshell. Now, what is this approach called? This approach is called monomolecular therapy. That is one molecule, one receptor, one pathway, and one intended effect. We know the effects generally are more than just one, but that's their intended approach. Now, the success rate is really, really low, and we know this because there are tons of different pathways that will create inflammation in the body. It's not just one. It's certainly not just one molecule, one receptor, one cell. Now, and like I said, whenever you're just trying to address this one receptor, this one thing, you're leaving a lot of these loose ends. Now you're leaving a lot of things kind of unchecked. So this is where I say it's side effects or the unintended consequences of trying to play nature when you're not. Okay, that's basically what happens. Now, I was trying to think about this and, what does this look like? And basically, it's the equivalence of, the game Jenga, right? Where you put all the little pieces together and you have the tower and then you try to pull the pieces out. Well, that's basically what Western medicine does, right? They'll look at the tower, they'll say, oh, it's kind of swaying a little bit. And they'll look and they'll say, oh, well, this log here is loose. Let's just pull it out. But they're not taking into account that whole entire Jenga block. Yeah, this one may be loose, but it's actually supporting that structure, everything above it. So if you just pull it out because you think it's a problem, and you're not actually supporting the structure, everything eventually is going to fall. Okay, so that's basically what Western medicine does. You can compare that to what natural medicine does, is they don't pull that log out, they support the entire structure. Because they have all these different moving parts, they have all these different constituents that are doing all these different things, and they just come around it like a protective shell. So it's very, very a different approach. Now, okay, yeah, so just basically that tower falls. Now, nature is the only thing that can actually restore homeostasis back to the cell. Okay, it was designed to do that. So it's the only thing that can do that. Drugs cannot do that. You cannot restore homeostasis to an entire system with one molecule, one receptor, one approach. Now, within those 300 different constituents and 400,000 molecules, it has the tools to support that tower. Okay, so that is called polymolecular therapy. So compare that to Western medicines, one molecule, one intended effect. Polymolecular therapy is using all the different molecules that we have in the essential oils that are affecting every single thing in the chain reaction. Now, this doesn't leave anything unchecked. It's supporting that whole entire Jenga tower. So this is how essential oils truly fix issues as opposed to just covering up symptoms. They're addressing the whole entire piece. Now, this also comes back to the fact that essential oils work under the rule of synergy. Now, this is the idea, sum of the parts is greater than, or the effect is greater than the sum of the parts. So let's compare this a little bit more, right? So we have the Westerners that take one little constituent out of the plant and say, okay, this must be what makes this plant good for pain, okay? But all the other little trace elements are what is needed to make that happen. So if you start looking at essential oils like the key in the lock, okay, that's what happens basically with our cells, with receptors, right? So you have to have a key to open up that lock. Well, even if the essential oil is a 70% molecule A, you have to have molecule B to open up that door. But how much molecule B do you need just to open up the door to let molecule A get in and do its work? You don't need much. But if you don't have the ability to open up that door, why even bother with molecule A? Does that kind of make sense? So you have to have all of these things together. Whereas Western medicine may say that's a trace element. That doesn't do anything. It's only 1% of the chemical makeup of this plant. It can't possibly do anything. But in fact, it does everything. And we can also look at this but they've done studies where they'll take some of these different constituents and they'll put them in, say, a petri dish with some cells and see how it acts on the cells. Molecule A does nothing. Molecule B does nothing. When you put molecule A and molecule B together, it has these anti-cancer effects, or it has pain-relieving effects, or whatever the effect may be, but they do nothing on their own. So that's why we have to have synergy. By definition, you cannot have synergy with Western medicine when they only deal with one molecule. 1 plus 0 that doesn't do anything, right? So we have to have all these things working together in order to have these great effects. Okay. Hope I'm not moving too quickly here. All right, so like I said, so we have molecule A, molecule B, they do nothing by themselves. Together, they do everything. Now multiply that by 100 or 150. Because remember, we have 300 possible constituents in an essential oil. So multiply that little effect by that many, and that is what you're getting whenever you are using just one drop of essential oil. Okay, it doesn't take much. Holly is so great at teaching us how to make our essential oils stretch, right? And because we want to get as most out of it as we can, but it's also because we don't need that much. You can't overdo it. You can, because you're talking about so much going on in just one drop of essential oil. So you don't need much to get these amazing effects. So expensive? No. All right, so this, and like I said, now because we are changing so many different things, we're acting on so many receptors, this allows these changes to be made to be permanent. So just missing some of these little constituents, these trace constituents, is how, without them, you're going to end up with a very lackluster product. That is, again, why it is so important. And a lot of these cheaper essential oil manufacturers, is they'll do the same thing. You know, they'll say, okay, this essential oil, this plant is 70% this and 10% this. The rest of the little 2.5% doesn't matter. So they'll put those components into a bottle and they'll say, boom, there's your natural therapeutic whatever, whatever, whatever. And they'll sell it for 1/3 of the price. Well, okay, yeah, it's worth 1/3 of the price, or if anything, because you're not going to get near the effect that you need to get if you're not getting every single one of those constituents in that oil. So that has to sink in. That is true synergy. So let that sink in.
Can you tell the story of Cypress?
You can tell it better.
Okay, I just think it's important to share.
Yeah.
Cypress has 280 some constituents. And it takes exactly 24 hours of cold distilling to get those 280 constituents. You can do it a lot faster in 5 hours flat, and you can get just as much oil, but you will only have 11 constituents. And so if you do it for 25 hours, you don't have any constituents. So Young Living is so amazing at their research of knowing for each and every single plant when to harvest it and exactly how to distill it for exactly how many hours. It's beautiful. I've been to the farms and it's it's amazing. It's worship to me to see how well they do that. Not worshiping them, but worshiping the Creator.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lord tells us that we're supposed to take care of what He's given us. We're supposed to be good stewards of the earth He's given us. And if we're just butchering it for a cheap product, we're insulting Him. Yeah. We're insulting what He has done and what He has intended for these plants, medicines to do. So you can't take, like she's saying, a product that has 280 constituents and take out a few of them, or most of them, and then expect it to work like it's whole. It just isn't going to work. Now, again, so you don't want to miss out on a single one of those molecules, a single one of those constituents, because that single one may do the one thing that you need it to do. Okay, so it's all important. So that gives us a little bit of the how, the why. But now, what do they do for our health? So we get what they do for ourselves, but what do they do for our health? Now, within all of these different constituents, they restore homeostasis, and they're able to do this because of the diversity of the cells and their synergistic effects. So one of the things that essential oils are known is they have a very, very high ORAC value. The ORAC is the oxygen radical absorption capacity. That is a really long name for antioxidant power. Now, this was adopted by the USDA to check and see the antioxidant properties of different foods, because we understand that we want antioxidants for healthy aging, to ward off cancer, for all those different things, for energy, you name it, you want antioxidants. Now, oxidants, just a really short description, everything, natural metabolism of our body, we reduce free radicals, okay? That's just something that's a natural part of being human. Of course, the more junk food you eat, the more processed food, the more free radicals you have. How you cook your food will release certain free radicals. So, in essence, it's something we can't avoid. So having antioxidants in our daily routine is absolutely crucial. The higher the number on the ORAC scale, the greater the antioxidants effects. So I'm going to read off a list here of some foods. I think you may have this in your notes as well. Carrots, 210, oranges, 750, berries, so strawberries, 1,540 on the scale, blueberries, which are halted as just one of the greatest antioxidants you could possibly consume, they have 2,400. Now, let's compare that to wolfberry, which is also known as goji berry. They have 25,300 units on the ORAC scale. Okay, so that is higher than anything else that we're, could just pick up.
And that's our Ningxia Red.
That's our Ningxia Red, yes. And they make every single bit of those antioxidants even more bioavailable because they add essential oils into the mix. Okay, so we know how essential oils can get into cells and do their business. When you add that super crazy antioxidant ability of the wolfberries, you've got an amazing antioxidant, delicious drink, I might add. So let's talk about some of the specific oils. Sandalwood is 160, frankincense 630, cinnamon 10,340, myrrh is 379,800. So Jesus was getting some pretty cool antioxidants whenever he was born. It's a great gift. Keep that in mind when you're looking for gifts this year. Clove, okay, 1,078,700, okay? An ounce of clove oil has antioxidant capacity of 320 pounds of carrots or 28 quarts of blueberries. That is a lot of antioxidant properties. And just in case you're all wondering, those are all being diffused right now with this diffuser. We're diffusing thieves, so they have the clove, it has the cinnamon, it has all of those in there, just getting rid of all the junk that could be in the air. Okay, so very powerful stuff.
Oh, and if anything needs a cough drop, help yourself.
Yes, and the thieves' cough drops. So because the molecules are so incredibly tiny, they are called volatile, which means that they're able to get into the air very, very rapidly, okay? So that's what these doing. These teeny tiny little molecules are all over the place, okay? They're super tiny, that's why you're able to breathe them in, they go into your nose, they go into your lungs and do their work. Okay, so diffusing essential oils are absolutely powerful. You don't have to put them on your skin to get all the benefits. In fact, sometimes you want to breathe them in as opposed to putting them on your skin. So this is why living with essential oils as a part of your daily routine is so important for just a healthy life when we talk about these antioxidants. So the last thing I want to talk about, and just to mention, you know, I always laugh when I tell people that while I'm cleaning, I'm boosting my immune system at the same time, and that is from the Thieves essential oil. So the Thieves cleaner has the Thieves essential oil in it. So you're killing everything on your counter. You got those antiviral, antibacterial, anti-parasitic properties that you're cleaning your floors with or whatever. At the same time, you're getting in those molecules that are helping out your immune system. Did you have a question?
No, just a comment.
Yes.
Look at the value, the auric value of clove again. It is the highest known auric value on the planet.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, you just look at the number, it's just a number, but when you have it in reference of it's the strongest in the world, it's pretty amazing. And that's why they talk about, you know, thieves being from, you know, the Black Plague, where you had those long snouts, that they had those herbs inside of their nose. And I've also heard accounts of people rubbing it on their hands whenever they were robbing graves and robbing the bodies. They'd actually have it on their hands. And, you know, so much of this intuition that I think that people had, you know, they didn't have to, not that studies are great, I love science, I really do, but, you know, but I think there's so much that we've lost of just common sense. You know what I mean? It's like we have to have something to edify or something to prove what we can see right in front of us. You know, I mean, what plants have been doing since the beginning of time, healing people, it works, you guys. It just works. You don't have to have something proving it to you. But, you know, hey, science is cool too, but it's just a sidebar. Okay, so antioxidant properties, what else do they do? So they raise the frequency of the human body. Now, we are energetic beings. I think that kind of rubs some people the wrong way. It doesn't rub them the wrong way if their heart stops and they get a jolt of electricity to start their heart again. They don't have a problem with it then. Okay, so yes, we are electric beings. That's just the way it is. We have, you know, a gravitational force or whatever on the earth, and when we touch the earth, that changes our energy. So we're energetic beings. That's just the way it is. Now, a healthy person has a frequency of about 62 to 68 megahertz. Cancer can begin when a person's overall frequency drops to about 42. Now, essential oils have extremely high frequencies. Rose essential oil is one of the highest. I think actually it's Idaho Spruce is the highest
520.
now. 520. Okay, so I didn't have that on here because I wasn't sure of the exact number. So you can write that in, Idaho Blue Spruce at 520.
My favorite oil.
It smells amazing. Rose 320, lavender 118, juniper 98, peppermint 78. My favorite essential oil of all time is Valor, which is a blend of different essential oils. It actually has a lower frequency. And I want to point this out just because if you start digging into this and you kind of get hung up for a second like I did. Now, certain parts of your body has different frequencies, okay? Your musculoskeletal system has a lower frequency of, I forgot exactly what it is, but it has a lower frequency than the 62 to 68. Now, Valor has that same frequency, so that's why it is so good for your musculoskeletal system. That's why they call it chiropractor in a bottle. I love to put this on my patients in the office to help them hold their adjustments. And so that is why there is that difference in frequency. I just want to point that out.
And Valor comes in the kit.
Yes, and Valor's in the, a lot of these oils actually are in the premium starter kit, so you're going to get to use all of them. So as you can see, there's a lot to the why, the how, and the what. Now, I would implore you to not take a mechanistic view of the essential oils. For instance, I have this problem, I'm going to use this oil for this problem. That's a Westerner thought, right? So these essential oils affect your whole entire body, okay? So the idea is always to get your body back into balance. Now, yes, certain essential oils have certain affinities for different problems and different things, but what works for one person may not work for the next. A lot of times it will, but we all have a little bit of a different genetic makeup. We have different toxins inside of us. We have different experiences, which will affect how our DNA is expressed. So what I'd encourage everyone to do is get an idea of, yeah, what works for a lot of people, but don't get hung up on the fact that it doesn't work for you. You need to try different things. Now, we have all these different constituents. We have all these different properties. We all have different roots to the issues of our pain, or what maybe has caused our cancer, or maybe what is causing our mood swings, or maybe what's causing our depression. So you just need to find what works best for you, because these oils are affecting the root cause. They don't care about your symptoms. So you need to kind of get off of that a little bit as well, and just bring your body back to a place where it can be restored. Now it's also, one thing I wanted to point out, I added this in the last second, so it's not in your notes, but I wanted to say that when I was reading, I learned that a lot of essential oils actually clear out of your body rather quickly. So a lot of them will actually clear out of your body within 2 hours. I think the average is 90 minutes. So that is why applying your oils in the morning before you start your day may not get you through the rest of the day, right? It's something that you need to be using on a continual basis. So your essential oils do absolutely nothing for you if you are keeping them stored up somewhere for a rainy day, okay? They don't do anything for you. You've got to keep them on your body so they can continue to repair. Sometimes less is more, but what you can do is, I know a lot of us, are really familiar with the idea of let's put oils on the bottom of our feet, and because they had the biggest pores in your body at the bottom of your feet. Well, although that is true, there's actually another layer to that for why that is actually beneficial. It is because you have an extra thickness of skin at the bottom of your feet, and it acts as kind of a reservoir for the essential oils. They have almost like a time release, okay? So when you do that, it lets them kind of do their job throughout the day, and they can actually be held for up to 48 hours in that place, okay? So putting the oils on your wrists and on your neck is great, but just expect the fact that that's going to be gone within a couple hours. But when you are trying for a very specific effect, like you want to be grounded, or you're going to have a stressful day and you need those oils to last longer than 2 hours in your body, put them on the bottom of your feet, and that will help. And then of course you can also apply them topically to certain areas like your liver, your heart, the diffuser necklace, you can be breathing that all day long. You can do that as well. But just remember, you need something to hold it, like the diffuser necklaces that have the little sponge or whatever that kind of holds them, because remember, the essential oils are very volatile. They'll get off in the air really quick. So you can, you want something to kind of hold them. So I hope that was informative. There's a whole lot more really that could be covered. Like I said, I wanted this to be a very simple overview. We talked about the constituents, we talked about synergy, and kind of comparing that to Western thought, and how to avoid getting sucked into that system. So at this point, does anybody have any questions?
Has anyone ever died from taking essential oils?
Has anyone ever died from taking them, like internally?
Or using them?
I'm sure there's probably some cases out there, but I think it's usually from absolute negligence, absolute loss. Yeah, drinking an entire bottle, and usually the junk, the crappy stuff that's full of synthetics. Because you got to remember, if you are getting anything from the essential oils, like the junk essential oils, they do have some of those little teeny tiny constituents, and the rest of it's synthetics and junk. You're taking that along with you, because the essential oils are so bioavailable, they're getting into your cells. Why bring junk in there with them?
Well, can you talk about the pesticides on getting essential oils from non-organic plant material?
Oh, so I mean, if you're had pesticides on the plants, and then they're making essential oils from that, you're getting that into your cells too.
And it's even more concentrated.
That's true, very concentrated, yeah.
So you could get very sick using cheap oils.
Or anything that's been adulterated in some way, even if you get the good stuff and then you put, you adulterate it with something else. Yeah, so where you get your essential oils really does matter. It really, really does, especially if you're trying to get a desired effect, which is health, so it makes a big difference.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brandi. That was wonderful. I have had such huge impact of oils in my own life, but I'm absolutely convinced that the quality of the oils is extremely important in order to get the impact that you want. So, for example, they're so concentrated that if you were to concentrate, like in this little bottle of lemon, is this lemon? No, here's lemon. This is 75 lemon rinds that have been cold pressed. And so if this had been distilled in a concentrated form with pesticides on it, then that's going to be concentrated as well. So you can get things a whole lot cheaper than Young Living, which is the company I really recommend. But you're not going to be able to get the quality that will actually have the therapeutic healing value that you need. So that's important. If you're interested in getting started with oils, contact me. I'd be happy to help you with that and give you wonderful reference materials and a great community that you can belong to learn. However, I wanted to go back to wild edible plants and some of the things that are on my counter that I wanted to share with you. So something that you need to be doing this time of year, besides collecting the fruits and the berries and the nuts that are coming, is to look at what's going to seed and make sure it's not going to seed where you don't want it. So for example, I absolutely love phlox flowers, but I have so many of them and they're going to seed and I don't want more. So I literally have gone through and I've gotten rid of all of the seed heads of the phlox flowers, but I'm not going to just throw them away. I'm going to throw them somewhere on the mountain where I would love to see color, even if it's not on my land. And so that's one thing you can do, just to keep things under control. I want to give a whole talk on all of my spiritual lessons I've learned from weeding, because I have like maybe 15 weird thoughts that I've spent so many hours weeding, not just to collect for foraging, but to get rid of things and put them where I want them, that I will do that.
You mentioned that you want to put them on the mountain, but not on your land. So maybe you can explain how really next door to us, we're so blessed to have an open pasture, and the owner has given permission for you to do these things on their property. And folks who are watching you should even consider looking for relationships like that, because having those wild plants nearby can be a real boon during the times when you want them having.
Well, I actually have quite a few. We have an acre, and so I have a lot of plants that I have brought to my land very intentionally. So, for example, I love Joe Pye weed, and I want to see it all over the place. So I'm going to take the Joe Pye weed that are going to seed right now, and I'm just going to put those over on the mountain too, because I'd love to see that. And I also love ironweed. But if you let these go to seed on inland, in a place where you consider prime real estate, you'll be sorry. So just be thoughtful about that. Let's see. I don't know if I talked about, did I talk about the snake root? This plant here, if you have this in your woods, it loves to grow in woods. It's such a pretty plant. It's a very poisonous plant, and this has killed thousands and thousands of people back in the 1800s, because the cows would forage in the woods, but would be allowed to forage in the woods. And this is where you'll find these growing, and they bloom this time of year. So they would eat the snake root. Not that it's tasty, but when they're really hungry, they'll eat it, and it would poison their milk, and then it would cause something called milk sickness. So that is what Abe Lincoln's mother actually died from. Many people died from it. So there's lots more to say about that. I'm going to teach on that when I talk about the white umbels and the poisonous plants. There's so many white umbels that are actually poisonous, and there's so many that are wonderful. So, yeah. If you have this on your land, just rip it up if you can, but if not, just go over and gather the flowers and use them as flower arrangements and then throw them out, because you don't want these. Let's see, what else do you want? Okay, this is what Queen Anne's lace, the Daucus carota, looks like as it's starting to go to seed. And so these seeds that are inside of here are a wonderful salt substitute. So you can collect and garner these, put them in a jar, and use these as a salt substitute. They also have wonderful medicinal properties. So this is one of those white umbels as well that looks very similar to poison hemlock or poison water hemlock or giant hogweed or any of the other wild white umbels that are out and about. So, but this is what the real carrot, the cultivated carrot we have now came from Daucus carota or the wild carrot, same constituents. And then the pokeweed is amazing, and I found this on Betty's land where the autumn olive berries were. And they were just really short, and they were so vibrant and delicious looking, and I went ahead and got some. You want to make sure you don't eat any of these inflorescence, these little flower umbels. Just get rid of those, and do not eat any poke at all unless you watch my class on poke, which I will put in the comments below. But this is good eating, and this is what kept the South alive in the Civil War. And if this is just, it's sold in farmers markets in Europe still, and the last year of it being canned here in the United States was 1993. If you've ever heard Elvis Presley sing Poke Salad Annie, this is the plant he's talking about. It is delicious, but it has so many caveats. You must prepare it properly in order to eat it safely. Lots of things out there to be gathered. I just wanted to give you a quick heads up about what I collected just in the last, probably 30 minutes. I got all this wonderful stuff. So it was exciting, and I hope you join me and that you post your pictures of what's in your foraging basket so we can all be encouraged, and you could possibly win the These Thy Woods roller of the...
That pizza's almost ready, so...
Oh, okay. I guess we'll say goodbye.
Well, hold on a second. Would you just check and take a look and see if it's ready?
Oh, okay, I'll check. Oh yeah, I want to show it to you guys. Nah, it's not quite ready. Okay, well here's something else that I did. I wanted to show you that you can always just get little white blank gift bags and decorate them to make them beautiful with just packing tape. That's all it is. So I have a gift for my niece in here, and I just wanted it to look beautiful. So that's simple to do. And Jace, could you just come over here and just try this and tell us? Okay, well, Jason will try this, and I'll do a video on it later. But this is the Clafouti that with the autumn olive berry that we made. And we'll also show you what the pizza looks like. If you're watching on YouTube and enjoy this video, then please like and subscribe if you don't want to miss my next episode. And don't forget to share this post and invite others to join Wild Blessings with Holly Drake Facebook group. You can support me and keep these classes free by joining Patreon, and that would be so helpful, and I would be so grateful for that. So we'll meet me next week, same time, same station, for another Teaching Tuesday. We'll be doing, probably going into hickory nuts, because those are coming right around the corner and you don't want to miss those. So God bless you, and thank you for joining me.